So welcome everybody. Thank you again for showing up today's 18th episode of Placed in Shelter. I'll be your host, Ryan Catarozoli. If you are catching us on YouTube, you can always be a part of the discussion, ask any questions that you'd like by joining in at 3 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. You can use the link that's below in the description, and that will take you into the Zoom meeting every day. So we don't change that number, it's the same. And today we're gonna do a little bit of a quarantine update. And I'm going to start with this right here. As you can see, this is a ball of toilet paper. And I just want to get everyone's take on this. Is this a normal thing? Because my daughter's not quite 3. And I'd say we're about 75% of the way to potty training. So she'll actually come up and tell me when she has to go to the bathroom. But now in every bathroom in the house, we have several balls of toilet paper because apparently the most fun toy in the house is to unravel the toilet paper, which in today's world is like gold. So we just ball it up and use it for later. So I just want to know how strange that was. And then another update, if you're following on Call of Duty Live over here, today's a big update day. So we got some new stuff dropping. So I'm pretty excited to do that once the kids go to bed. And with that, we're going to take it into today's episode. And we are going to call today Temporarily Closed. Now, obviously, the world has changed quite drastically over the last, I'd say, 5 to 6 weeks. And we've seen a lot of these hot bars, hot wing bars, salad bars, buffets, whatever you want to call them, they've been closed since probably March. All the self-serve options that I can think of, whether it's B&I, buffets, they're all closed. So what I did was I did a quick little internet search, and you can find some articles here. This was one from the Wisconsin Public Radio, and this actually came from a Hy-Vee spokesperson that said, we've shut down self-serve donut cases, we've closed our salad bars, our olive bars, soup bars, and anything that's open air or self-serve. Another one that I happened to find was from Whole Foods. And then you can see this was back in March. Temporary closure of hot bars, salad bars, soup bars, self-serve pizza. So we're starting to see a lot of these things close up. And what's the big problem? Well, obviously in today's world, we're worried about germs and coronavirus and whatnot. So the big problem with these hot bars or wing bars is that the food is obviously exposed to the environment. Now, although they do have sneeze guards on them, that's only protecting from, somebody directly sneezing on the food, but the food itself is still exposed to the environment. The other problem is you have multiple people utilizing the same utensil, whether it's the same soup dish, soup ladle, whether it's the same tongs. There's lots of different things that people are using, but they're all using the same ones. You have several people touching it. Obviously, when you stand in a line going through a buffet, you have a lot of people within close quarters of each other. Right about now, what's the acceptable option? And what we've really seen as an acceptable option has been a pre-packaged self-serve product, okay? So whether that's packaged burritos, packaged sandwiches, I've even seen stores going as far as putting their roasted chicken or deep fried products into go-tainers and then putting them up in a self-serve area as opposed to having an open salad bar. But it brings a lot of questions to mind. And one of the first ones is, how much money have these businesses lost over this period of time? I mean, if they've been closed since March, that's a pretty big profit center for them. And it's a thing that customers like, right? It wouldn't be successful if we didn't like going to the grocery store and being able to make our own salad bar or going to a buffet and getting all you can eat. I mean, as a high schooler, I remember our baseball team would go to Old Country Buffet and we'd see how many plates of food we could eat. I was never the best, but I think I had friends that could consume about 8 full plates. I don't know how they're doing today, but back then that was a lot of food. The other question that comes up is this the new way? Are we going to be going completely away from open food bars? Are we going to go away from salad bars? And after we come out of this, as we start to reopen the country, are we going to see these bars ever become acceptable again? And I don't have those answers. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, or I'd probably be doing more than selling toasters. I'd probably be betting on horses and doing some other gambling if I had a crystal ball. But what it does come up is 2 different options that I can think of. And option number 1 is going to be completely changing it. So taking out the hot bars and putting in some alternative. And I don't know what that alternative is, but the pros of this would be, obviously, you're taking non-usable space currently and you're making it usable. You're able to put food there now, or whatever other product you want to put out. And then you also have, if this is the new way, you're ahead of that trend. Obviously, the biggest downfall with that option is going to be the cost. It's not always the best time to spend that kind of money right now, especially if we don't know what the next step is going to be. So that takes me into what I like to call option number 2. And option number 2 is going to be something that we're currently creating that is going to be a hot well cover. And what's really cool about this idea is it's very, very versatile. So in the future, if wing bars come back, you didn't take out your current hot wells and replace them with something else. You simply substituted a product that can go directly on top of the hot well and create a heated space for your pre-packaged food. And you can see here from some of the drawings that we have. These are CAD drawings, obviously. They're designed to go right over the top of Hatco wells, but we have allowed some tolerances in there so that we can fit them in some other wells moving forward. But right now we're positioning it for our wells. And then the last pictures here, now I need to remind you, these are not done by the advertising team. These are going to be taken right off the model shop floor. So this is brand new for everybody. So most of you in the show here haven't actually seen this product yet, but here's a really cool picture. So what we've done is we've taken stainless steel on the outside to give it a really nice clean look. And then what we've done is we've utilized some swanstone in the center. And the swanstone still comes in the 3 different colors, whether that's the sandstone color, the gray granite, or the midnight sky. So you can choose which look is best. Currently, we're working with the idea of having a 2-well cover and a single well cover. Now, with those combinations, you can cover up pretty much any bank of wells that you currently have. Obviously, the pros here, very versatile. I can take these off, I can put them on, I can take them off, I can change them. So as the future goes, when wing bars are more acceptable, I can open up my wing bar again, or on days where I want to do prepackaged food, I simply put the well back on. Then the cost. You know, the cost of putting these on is a fraction of the cost versus completely removing wells and placing in hot shelves. So it gives you a great option there. The only downfall I could possibly think of is that if this is the wave of the future and those bars are going to go away, eventually you would have to put money in and kind of decide which path you'd want to go, unless you deem this being a permanent solution. Couple other points here. The stainless steel on the side is for the best look that we can get. Underneath, we're actually utilizing aluminum because of its heat transfer properties, and that's placed directly underneath of the swanstone. Now, the testing that we're doing is currently live, so I don't have any great numbers for you. But what I can tell you is that some of the competition is utilizing just strictly aluminum for the top of it. And what we found is that when you place it on top of one of our hot wells and you run it at a 7 or an 8, that steam transferring heat to the top of that surface makes the surface extremely hot. You know, what we have to remember is a well is traditionally working with a 6.5-inch deep pan filled with food. So no one's ever really touching the bottom of that pan. But now when you make that the surface, it is now exposed to people touching it. So what we've actually found is you can lower the temperature settings to about 3, which will lead to less water usage, more energy efficiencies, and still get the nice heat capabilities coming from the surface of the unit. So these are not quite production ready. We're just working out some of the final details. But the reason I want to bring it up in today's show is because I think it's very relevant in today's world. So if you do have opportunities for these, please work with your regionals, and we would love to get some test units out there and get some feedback on it. And with that, that's going to wrap up today's episode and today's talk. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here and open this up to a question and answer session. As usual, the chat box is at the bottom. If you go ahead and choose the chat, you can then open it up and you can actually send in your questions. So let's start here. I got to read through a couple of them. Looks like chat was rather busy during the talk. Does the false top work effectively on the dry heated well built-in units? So Brad, that's an excellent question. From the testing that I've seen done through my customer on the hot wells with the steam transfer, knowing that it takes rather much less energy. We can turn the wells down to a 3 to get the same temperatures on the base. I think we'll see some of the same experiences with the dry wells, but until we can get that testing done right now, I don't have a completely accurate answer, but I for no reason see why it would not work with those wells either. Good question. Let's see, what do we got here? Different color of swans available, I assume? Yes. So we have the 3 standard colors, the swanstone, the gray granite, and the midnight sky. As always, those are the same colors that we have available currently. I think we're going to go back to the old style cafeteria service. Why not use something the Subway top or like a mega top sandwich table? The top covers the food, but the client can see, then be served. Jack, that's totally feasible. We could see going back to more self-serve options where you're utilizing the hot wells, but you have somebody standing back behind them. The question becomes, that's a great answer for the future, but what happens to your current salad bar or your current wing bar, for example, in a grocery store setting where it's positioned in the middle of an aisle? And right now you don't really have a space designated for somebody to stand behind and serve. And then obviously, you can see the difference between going to the deli, grabbing a ticket, and waiting your turn versus going through the buffet line. You can clearly get a lot more people through that way. So I think it's a very viable option, but this is going to be more focused towards already existing units that weren't thinking of that when they placed them in. Mike, are these available for shipment now? As of right now, they are not. Now, I can tell you that working with James and Jim in engineering, we were ready to make these production ready. But I actually asked them to hold off because I want to get some feedback from a customer first. And that way, if we do need to make any changes, we don't have to reopen an engineering project. We can just make some tweaks to it right now and therefore get the best possible solution out to the customers in the most timely manner. So we should have some of those tests and things back rather quickly. Jack, I had a school FSD meeting last night and the locker concept was discussed for use in the middle and high schools, maybe more like an automatic. So yeah. We're seeing a lot of those things, so definitely with the locker systems. Can the stainless steel be powder coated in another color? As of right now, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to utilize another material. I know what we did was the fastest route was to choose the stainless because we thought it looked best. And we were also competing with one of the current products on the market right now is an all aluminum. And what they did is that swirl top finish to it, so it kind of has like a shine. So we were trying to give some mimic to that shiny clean. But I would have to ask Jim. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do specific colors if needed. Awesome questions today, guys. Any other ones? Awesome. Well, with that, I really encourage you, if you have opportunities for this, I think this is a really, really relevant product for the market. Are we allowed to drink during these shows? Not only are you allowed, you're encouraged to drink during these shows. That's most of the ways people get through these. So like Louis said, to excess. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get to everybody's favorite portion of the show, and that's going to be our memes for the day. Once again, Charlene Brennis is taking the cake here, sending in a lot of good memes. And our first one here, actually, I take that back. This one came from Betty in advertising. And she said, now here's an idea. And if you need to wear a face mask out in public, this is one great way that you can still consume your alcoholic beverage while staying safe. Or non-alcoholic if you're driving. This one came in from Charlene. These are the new airport codes. I'm a big fan of the MNC. I think I'd like to go there every day, all day. Backyard's not a bad one either. So I like these airport codes. And then last but not least, another one came in from Charlene that said, I went outside to check on my plants and I felt something cold and wet on my arm. I looked down and saw a mosquito using a wet wipe before he bit me. So even the mosquitoes are trying to keep themselves safe from this. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you showing up. I hope you enjoyed today's show. One more housekeeping note, just a reminder, we're going to have a big Stump the Chumps episode on Friday. We'll have Mike Whiteley, Dave Ralston, and Mark Comfort as our guest panel. So please start submitting your questions in early because I can imagine they're going to be flying through during the show, and I don't know if we'll get to all of them. So if you want to send them in, placedinshelter@gmail.com. You can also send me your memes if you'd like to get your memes put in the show. With that, we truly appreciate everybody here. If you're watching on YouTube, again, you can hit the link and join us live 3 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. The bell notification right down in the corner will let you know every time we post a video, and let us know you're enjoying the content by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice day.